If you want to change your reality, then you need to change your personality. And that is because your personality is what creates your personal reality. Now, the cool thing about your personality is it's flexible, like a contortionist. You can bend it and shape it and mold it in whichever way you want, whenever you want. So in this video, I'm going to teach you on how to do this. And this video is inspired by the teachings from Dr. Joe Dispenza. So Dr. Joe Dispenza talks a lot about your state of being, because your state of being is what creates the reality. And your state of being is the same thing as your personality. So what makes up your state of being? That's the way you think, it's the way you act, and it's the way you feel. So your state of being is basically the same thing as the energy you're embodying. So the energy you're embodying is what you attract into your life. So this is law of attraction and law of vibration. So law of vibration is the primary law, and law of vibration states that everything in our reality is in a constant state of movement. Everything's vibrating. We're in an ocean of motion. So your body is putting off a vibration. And then whatever vibration you're putting off is what you attract. So that's law of vibration, the primary law. Law of attraction is the secondary law. Now your thoughts and your feelings is what makes up your vibration. So if we want to have a new reality, we need to change our state of being or change our personality. And the way we do that is we change the way we think, we change the way we act, and we change the way we feel. When we change our thoughts and our feelings, we're changing the energy we're embodying, we're changing our vibration, and that is when we're going to start attracting different things in. So you literally have to become someone else. And that can actually be really fun to do, using your imagination to figure out what sort of personality you want to have, like what type of person you want to be. Because again, your personality is flexible. You can shape it and mold it however you want. Now, Dr. Joe Dispenza says your same thoughts causes the same choices. The same choices causes the same actions and behaviors. The same actions and behaviors cause the same experiences, and the same experiences causes the same feelings. And that creates the old state of being. So if we want a new state of being, the key is to have new thoughts that lead to new choices, that lead to new actions and behaviors, that lead to new experiences, that lead to new feelings, and that creates the new state of being. So the key is we have to start looking at what our thoughts are. What thoughts are you thinking? So I'm going to give you 5 tips on what to do to start shifting your personality, to start shifting these thoughts so that you can get yourself into a new reality. So the first one is to observe your thoughts, because we have thought patterns running on autopilot. Now, if we aren't aware of what's running on autopilot, we can't change anything. So awareness is key, right? If you aren't aware, you can't change. So what you do, I talk about this in my other content, is you observe your thoughts and your beliefs. So your beliefs are the same thing as the stories you're telling yourself. And your beliefs is what creates your reality. So I recommend getting a candle. I talk about this in my other content, right? Where you stare at the candle flame and you start to observe your thought patterns, you observe your beliefs, you observe the stories that you're telling yourself. Because if you aren't aware of these things, they're going to keep creating the reality that you don't want. So what you do is you stare at the candle flame for about 5 to 10 minutes, do it every day. So it's sort of like the gym where you've got to be consistent to get results. And what you do is you simply just observe your thoughts. You don't try and control them. You imagine as if you're sitting on a park bench and your thoughts are just going past. Doesn't matter if they're positive, doesn't matter if they're negative. You're just watching them go past and observe them, right? And the same thing will happen where you will start observing, like, the stories you're telling yourself will start coming up. So for example, you could have a story you're telling yourself that you're not worthy of earning a lot of money. You're not worthy of being wealthy. Let's say, for example, that's a story you're telling yourself, but you might not actually even be aware that you're telling yourself this story. That's why I say awareness is key. So when you do this candle meditation where you're observing your thoughts, you're observing the stories you tell yourself, you start becoming more aware. This is where it's powerful, because this is where you can now change that. So I recommend doing that for like 5 to 10 minutes every day. Now, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about, this is number 2, writing down the thoughts you have to stop thinking. So let's say you're doing the candle meditation, you're starting to become aware of the thought patterns, the beliefs, the stories, start writing them down. For example, you might be telling yourself things like, I can't, I'll start tomorrow, I'm too tired, I don't feel like it. Whatever thoughts or beliefs that, self-limiting beliefs that are coming up, write them down. Now, this is because, again, awareness is key. So if you've taken the time to become aware of these thoughts, like you're telling yourself, I can't, you write it down. And then when you do have that thought, when that thought comes up, you will now have that awareness to catch that thought out. And then you can make the choice to have a new thought. So take the time to write down the thoughts that you need to stop thinking, the self-limiting thoughts and the self-limiting beliefs, and the stories you're telling yourself. Now, number 3 is the next step. So once you've written those down, you need to reprogram yourself with new beliefs, new stories, and new thoughts that you prefer. So this is what you call belief work, right? I've done videos on this as well. And I've done belief work myself. So it's like you write down, like I said, write down the thoughts that you don't want to have anymore so you can become aware, but also write down the beliefs and stories that you're telling yourself about anything. It can be around love, it can be around money, success, friendships, relationship, family, anything, health. And what you do is you write a new belief or story or thought that you're wanting to reprogram into yourself, something that you prefer. So for example, one of my self-limiting beliefs that comes up a lot is one of the most common self-limiting beliefs that a lot of people have, and that is, I'm not good enough. And I notice this is something that's always coming up, no matter what I'm trying to do in life. It's almost like I'm hitting this brick wall with it, and it just keeps coming up. So the new belief I came up with is, whenever I have that awareness where I realize, I'm having this thought of, I'm not good enough, I then tell myself the new belief, the new story, which is, I am good enough, I'm getting better every day. I am good enough, I'm getting better every day. Now, the key with reprogramming is repetition, right? So your subconscious mind is what rules your life. 95% of your outer reality is coming from the programming of the subconscious mind, and that is where a lot of our self-limiting beliefs and stories are running on autopilot, as well as these these thoughts that hold us back, like, I'll start tomorrow. All these things are running on autopilot, right? So when you reprogram, it's through repetition. So once you've written down these new beliefs, these new stories, these new thoughts that you're wanting to reprogram, you simply just say them to yourself every day. And eventually you'll get to that point where you won't need to keep saying it to yourself, because it's been programmed. So I've done this with myself when I did it was like a free 3-week course, and I like jumping on these free like, there's so much freebies out there in the world, like free coaching sessions, free healing sessions, free 3-week courses and stuff. I make the most of the free stuff. And we had to do belief work where we had to write down our self-limiting beliefs. It was based around relationships, friendships, family, and love relationships. And then we had to write next to it the new belief we wanted to program. And I committed to doing it every day. But then I noticed it got to that point. I can't remember how long it took, but it takes at least 3 weeks to reprogram the subconscious mind. And it just got to that point where it's like, I felt like it is reprogrammed, so I don't need to keep repeating it, because now I believe it. I believe what I've reprogrammed. So take the time to, again, write down the thoughts that you need to stop thinking. become aware of what beliefs and stories you're telling yourself. Write down new beliefs and stories and thoughts you want to reprogram. Commit to reading them to yourself every day. And then, like I said, eventually you'll get to that place where it's like you've programmed it. You don't need to keep repeating them to yourself. Then you can move on to new beliefs or new stories that you want to start reprogramming. Now, number 4 is to take the time to think about your new personality and who you prefer to be. Again, your personality is flexible, so you can be whoever you want. That's what's cool about it, right? So I highly recommend to use your imagination, and then what you do is you imagine, how does this new personality, how does this person think, act, and feel? So use your imagination, right? So for example, with me like starting up an online business, I had to start thinking of like, how does the successful business Laura, how does she think, act, and feel? And I had the realization where it's like, I smoke weed, and the reason I smoke weed is mainly I use it as a sleeping aid because my brain's just always ticking over, and I realized weed helps my brain shut down so I can actually sleep. But I've been smoking it daily for years, and sometimes I just smoke it either in social situations or just to get into a chill mode. But I had the realization that the amount I'm smoking, the successful Laura wouldn't be smoking this much. You know, that's where the acting comes in, the actions you're taking, you know. I was like, nah, she's not gonna have time to be sitting around smoking up and just being stoned all the time. So I decided I have a rule at the moment where I'm not allowed to touch any weed before 6 p.m. And then once I get into that habit, then I'm going to push it to 7 p.m. So I kind of aim to be asleep around 9 p.m. So 7 to 9 is like 2 hours before bed. That's my wind down time. So I was like, yeah, cool. Push it back to there. You don't need to be smoking it, you know, throughout the day or in the afternoon or early evening. And again, it's because the way I see it, like, it's that new business Laura, she won't be smoking that much weed because she doesn't have the time because she's running a business. So use your imagination. Imagine the person you want to be. Then imagine how this person thinks, feels, and acts. And then what you do is you start mirroring that. When you start mirroring it, that is when your personality shifts, and then that's when your personal reality will shift. So again, it goes back to writing down the thoughts and reprogramming new thoughts as well, because again, the new thoughts lead to new choices lead to the new actions and behaviors, and so on. Now, number 5 is I recommend to learn something new. And the reason is because I'm going to quote Dr. Joe Dispenza on this one. He says, to change the mind is to make the brain work in new sequences, new patterns, and new combinations to make the brain work differently. To do that is with knowledge and information. So every time you learn something new, you make a new connection in the brain. So when you're learning something new and you're making these new connections, you're going to have new thoughts. And again, new thoughts lead to new choices, leading to new behaviors and actions, and so on. So that's why I recommend to learn something new. You can make that your New Year's resolution or your New Year's goal is to, for 2023, decide to learn something new. And again, use your imagination to think about the person that you want to be, who you want to become, and start mirroring how that person would think, act, and feel. I hope you like this video, guys. If you got some sort of value, let me know by giving me a thumbs up. Write down below a thought that you need to stop thinking and a new thought to counteract that thought. I would love to read them. If you like this sort of content, subscribe and hit the bell notification so you're notified whenever I drop a video. I hope I see you on the next one. Peace.